So I thought I would put together this short video because I needed a solution to closing our fence gate here. I've got young children and we have a dog, and we fenced in our backyard obviously to keep our dog in, but the problem I was having was that my kids would continually leave the gate open, and if I let the dog out without checking both gates on each side of the house, there was a chance the dog was going to get loose and run around the community. So I needed to come up with a solution that would automatically close the gate whenever it was left open. And considering that we're big fans of Colonial Williamsburg and have visited there many times, I had seen the Cannonball gate closures in use quite extensively down there in their restoration, and figured it was a really elegant solution to keeping my gates closed. And the nice thing about this particular design, aside from the fact that it's historically a great gate closure, it's also incredibly simple and easy to use. As you can see, there's really not a whole lot to it. You have a cannonball weight, a length of chain which is connected to a post in front of the gate, and at the other end connected to the gate itself. The thing I like about it is no maintenance. I did find other gate closures on the internet. They were mechanical, obviously, but they did require periodic maintenance. This particular design, this is it. That you install it and forget about it, and it does its job. We were down in Colonial Williamsburg over the holidays, and so I spotted that they actually had cannonballs and chains for sale there at a good price compared to what you can get on the internet. And so I decided to go ahead and buy a pair. And I got it home and then suddenly realized that while I had the cannonball and chain, I didn't have the other necessary hardware to attach it to the post and the gate at each end, and also to attach the cannonball to the chain. So I searched around the internet and I found a company called Hinge Latch Gate. Hingeandlatch.com actually is where I found it, and they actually sold the hardware pieces, which would provide an attachment to the post on one end and the gate on the other, as well as a small little locking carabiner type affair that would attach the cannonball to the chain itself. And then also in looking at their very thorough instructions on how to actually install this thing, they also recommended something called a gate striker plate. And as you can see it right there, it's black and it attaches to one side of the post. And the idea with the striker plate is that the gate closes with such force that the gate will close on the striker plate, and it won't basically apply the full force of the gate closure to your gate hardware, which of course would be your latch. So I said, I was a little hesitant because I figured, well, it can't close the gate that hard, but I decided to go ahead and get the striker plates anyway, which I did. So finally, having all the hardware and all the necessary parts to this, I suddenly realized that there were a lot of things that I still needed to know about how to install this properly. For instance, how far out from the gate should the post be? Should the hanging chain be on the inside, or should it be on the back? Also, where exactly on the gate should the chain be attached to provide the most effective closure without impeding your access to the gate and being able to open it? So fortunately, hingeandlatch.com had really excellent instructions on installing a Cannonball gate closer. It was only about one page long, but it answered a lot of the questions I had about how to install this. So the first question I answered already, and that was, how far out from the front of the gate should the post be located? And the instructions provided by hingeandlatch.com was that the post should be about 18 inches out from the front of the gate, and also that the post should be aligned basically perpendicular to the post. And so right off, I knew how far away from the front of the gate it needed to be. But then there was a question of, well, how much of the post needs to be sticking above the ground, and where should the attachment point be, and should it be on the inside or the outside, or where? Most of the installations that I saw from videos from Williamsburg showed the hook installed on the inside of the post. That would be the face of the post facing the sidewalk. Because I have kids running in and out of the gate all the time, and because there's a lot of traffic at this gate location, I decided for safety's sake it made a lot more sense to basically put this hook facing the fence, which would keep it out of the way and make it less likely you'd run into it when you were moving trash cans in or out, or things of that sort. Also, I opted for a 6x6 inch post. My wife looked at those and said, did you really need to get one so big? And I'll tell you, the reason why I decided to go with a 6x6 inch piece of pressure treated wood was because all the posts I had seen installed in Williamsburg and other locations showed the posts were always cannoned, and that's because over time, with the soil getting wet and the action of the weight going back and forth, the post gets a little cannoned and it starts to move, move towards the gate. So I figured a 6x6 inch post certainly would stay in place once it was installed. So I headed out to Home Depot and I got myself an 8-foot section of 6x6 and took it downstairs into the shop and cut it into a section so that according to the instructions, around 26 inches, 20 to 26 inches would be exposed above the ground, and I probably have about 18 inches buried underground. I basically used a very thin spaded shovel to dig a post hole down. That wasn't terribly hard to do. As you can see, we have clay soil here, so it was easy to dig down. I basically dug a more or less a 9x9 inch hole and marked the spot with Sharpie on the post where the division point was between the part that would be exposed and the part that would be buried. And so as I dug down, I'd put the post in, make sure it was deep enough, and if not, I'd dig out a little more. So I finally got probably about 16 inches down, and I put the post in. Everything was good. And then I went ahead and filled the sides of the post in the hole with basically bluestone, or what is typically at Home Depot called like highway gravel. And the idea with that is that some air circulation will hopefully prevent the pressure-treated wood from rotting out too quickly. And then I basically covered over most of it with a little bit of clay soil so the grass would grow around it. And so the post was in. Also, when I was down at the shop, I went ahead and installed the hook as well. I basically used a 1/2-inch drill bit, drilled down, and then soaped basically a hook that I also picked it up at Home Depot, and soaped the threads on the hook and screwed it in to the proper depth. And then and the final item I bought, as you can see, is this plastic cover, 6x6 inch, to keep the water out of the end of the wood. And then I just basically used a simple galvanized roofing nail to nail it into place. You know, a 6x6 inch post is kind of necessary, I think, when you have kids who are running around, probably going to climb on it, stand on it, balance on it. It just seemed to make a lot of sense to go with a 6x6 inch post opposed to a 4x4 inch post. So I had the eye hook in, the post in, I nailed the cover on top of the cap there, And so that part of it was done. Then the next question that came up was, well, where do you attach it on the gate itself? So fortunately, again, the instructions that were provided identified that the most ideal place to put it was the middle of the fence. And with the hardware that I got, I went ahead. As you can see, this is installed with 4 screws, and that's plenty strong enough to hold that in place given the weight that it's going to hold. And basically brought my drill out here, drilled the holes, and then put the screws and this attachment. Also a hook, as you may notice. They provided one that was a closed hook, but I wasn't quite sure. I really didn't want to attach another carabiner or snap link, whatever you want to call it, to hold it on to the eye hook that they provided. So I went ahead and used their open hook, and the other hook, as you know, I got from Home Depot. So that made it real easy to attach these on each end. Now, if it turns out it's a problem, the kids are going to start taking the hook off, the chain off the hook, I may come out here and try and close those up and make them closed eye hooks. But so anyway, as you can see, it's right in the middle of the fence. And then the final piece of this, of course, was the striker plate. And so I went ahead and installed the striker plate. I'll show this to you right now. Basically what I did was I closed the gate and I pushed the striker plate up against the fence and drew some marks to line it up, and then went ahead and used my drill, held it up to the fence, used my drill to drill the 2 holes for the striker plate and put that in. So now all the components were in place, so I went ahead and I attached the chain up, and that brought up the next interesting question, and that was, well, where do you attach the Cannonball? I mean, where's the best place to attach the Cannonball? And the way the instructions were written, it basically said you should put it about halfway when the gate is fully open. Put it about halfway between the fence post and the gate post when the gate is fully open. So that's basically where I attach the Cannonball, and we slipped the little locking carabiner in there, and with the threads pointing down, we sort of closed up the gate so it'll stay closed. And now basically I'll show you. It's sort of surprising, but this gate closes with a lot more force than I initially thought it would. But I'm going to go ahead and let it go so you can see for yourself. That closes pretty hard, and it closes the gate completely, which is really nice, and it also makes sure that the lock is locked. So that's basically the whole setup. It's pretty straightforward. It probably took me, I don't know, maybe, 15 minutes to cut the wood and install the eye hook. Maybe another 10 minutes to haul everything out and attach the hardware to the gate itself and the striker plate. And then it was just a matter of hooking everything up and attaching the Cannonball at the right location. So, and it works really well, of course. And so now I've got this nice gate closer. It opens all the way up, plenty of room, and it closes solid. So I'm real happy with it. As you can see, the iron Cannonball has started to rust a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be a big problem. But that's basically it. So if you're looking for a really elegant, simple way to close a gate up to 4 feet in width, this is a great solution if it works for you. Some people don't like the fact that there's a post hanging out here in the front, but that's really not an issue for me. I think it's offset by the fact that absolutely no maintenance is required. So there you have it.